Well, welcome back, folks. Today we're going to be reviewing the MSR Hubba Tour 1, which is predominantly marketed as a bicycle touring tent, but I use it for both bicycle, motorbike, and on the odd occasion a walking tent. So without further ado, we'll crack on. I'll break it out of the backpack and we'll have a look at it erected and go through the specs. So this is what it looks like out of the backpack. It weighs about 2 kilograms. It's around about 500 millimeters in length, depending on how well you pack it, and around 300 millimeters around the pack. As I say, it's not the lightest tent out there, but it's designed for cycle touring. And the beauty of this, even though it's a one-person tent, it's got a very, very large vestibule area, so as you can cook in there. I can even sit in there with one of my small camping chairs if it's raining. And it's good for storing panniers and things like that, whether you be cycle touring or motorbike touring. So without further ado, we'll crack on and get this thing put up, shall we? Right, before we see what's inside the bag, I'd just like to talk a bit about the stuff sack. The stuff sack is one of the design I prefer. It's rather than it be one of those where you have to roll it and shove it in through the end, the opening is actually along the length. It comes with a carry handle and 2 built-in compression straps, which is really nice for cinching it down nice and tight and getting it as small as possible. So to get it out of the bag, just undo your 2 compression straps, and then there's a drawstring here, and then everything just sort of opens up, and as you can see, it's a nice big wide opening. Inside that is your dust cover, waterproof cover, whatever you want to call it, with the full pitching instructions inside. What I will say as well is that this is actually a DWR coated stuff sack, so if you were to put this upside down on a rack and cinch it up nice and tight with a drawstring, it would theoretically be waterproof. I do put it inside another bag when I'm doing it, but feeling the material, I'm pretty sure it would be quite waterproof. So inside the bag then you get your tent. I went for the olive green version for stealth reasons. So you've got your tent. Your tent comes supplied from new with a separate inner and outer, and you also get in here somewhere poles and pegs. Now the poles are all high quality aluminium and they're all shock corded, so you can't really go wrong with it. Very easy to put together, but you'll see that shortly. And it comes supplied with good quality pegs as well. It's the sort of tri-point design that are really good for holding in ground, better than those wire type pegs, and quite lightweight. The only problem with these is when you're pushing them in, it can be a bit sore on the hands. So what I tend to use is an old bottle cap, just put on the top and push on the bottle cap, and it stops you hurting the palm of your hand. Handy little tip there for you. So in terms of getting the frame ready, literally just take the poles out and let them put themselves into order. You do get 2 sets of poles, one long straight one here, that is for the vestibule, and the rest of it is for the main sleeping body of the tent. I'm normally stood up and able to move around a bit better, and this goes a bit smoother, but there you can see, not really a problem. So it forms into like a long part with a middle support and your 2 end supports that go actually into your tent. So what you need to do is you need to find the vestibule section first. Make sure that's going to be facing in the direction you want it to go. And the easiest way to tell that is to look where the door is. And the door is on the vestibule, not on the sleeping area. So there's the sleeping area set out, and all you have to do, wrong pole set, is clip these four corners into these red tags on each corner of the sleeping area. And then you've got a series of little plastic clips that just clip onto the actual frame itself. And when you get to this middle section, don't know if you can see it there, but there's a little red metal ring that this just clips into. That gives you a bit of the width at the top of the tent for the sleeping area. And once it's done, you can actually move it around. So as you can see, nothing to it really. And that's the sleeping area actually up. For the vestibule area, this is more of the older design of tent where you thread it through a sleeve. Like so. And again, on the bottom of it, you've got two little metal clips that it just goes into. And once you've tied out the guy lines, as you can see, it's quite a large size. I'll get this pitched properly and in better focus, and we'll take a look at the inside. So, apologies if you can hear the tractor in the background, which is fully pitched now, and I've put every guy line out. So as we do a walk around the tent, you'll see the guying possibilities for this and how stable it's likely to be in bad weather. One thing I would like to just correct from an earlier bit of the video is I initially stated that they came with these tri-point pegs, and I've since realised that that was an upgrade that I did, and what it does come with is the aluminium MSR square pegs with the small hook on the end, and it does come with enough of these included to do every pegging point on the tent. Still good tent pegs, I just prefer the other design. So we'll crack on. So as you can see, it's, if you imagine this third of it from there to there is the sleeping area. So from there to there is the vestibule area. It's an external frame, it's not a freestanding tent per se. The sleeping area is freestanding, and if you couldn't peg out, you can always tie the guy lines off of the vestibule area to your motorbike or whatever, and that would make it a freestanding tent. So you've got a guy line on either end of the sleeping area with a vent and a Velcro spacer to hold the vent open. You do also have a vent in the middle rear at the top of the sleeping area. Again, that it's got a stay to hold it open and a guy line. The vestibule area has got an additional guy line that helps keep it from flapping about in really strong weather, and I have slept in this in a massive thunderstorm in, I believe it was Holland, and it was right above me. The lightning and thunder were arriving at the same time. The rain was bouncing off the tent and it stood up to it admirably. And on the vestibule area you have 3 guy lines to hold that up in stormy weather as well. It's never let me down in stormy weather, but that's probably jinxed it now for me. So coming round to the vestibule area then, this is the entrance door, and it's got a mesh inner door as well, and both are 2-way zips, so for added ventilation you can leave the top of the vestibule door unzipped and leave the mesh closed on the inside, so you can get airflow without getting bugs going in. So we'll unzip and have a look at the inside. Good quality zips on these, and the rain seal also has velcro to actually hold it against the door to stop it from lifting. There are rollback holds, 2 of 1, 2, to hold the door back should you want to leave it open for a prolonged period of time. And inside the vestibule, as you can see, the area where you're not going to get heavy footfall has actually got a waterproof ground sheet on it. I find that really handy for chucking stuff I don't want to get wet off of the damp grass and things onto, and I'm pretty sure, although I haven't tried it, I could get my folding e-bike in there. So that's the sleeping area. Again, it's a 2-way zip and you get into it from the side, which is my preferred method rather than crawling in it caterpillar style. And again, it does have a mesh area at the top to help with ventilation, so you get, if you have the top of the vestibule door open and the vents inside, you get quite a good flow of air through. The inner tent is removable. If you can see, it has eyes and toggles all the way along it, so if you undo those you can fully remove the inner and have this just as a pitched cover if you like. I'm not quite sure why you would, but you can. Again, as I said, 2-way zip, and a nice big wide opening for you to get in and out of and to get into your sleeping bag nicely. Inside the sleeping area we do have a gear loft here for you to chuck things into of a night, a lantern, a head torch or whatever. That gives you some nice light. And on either end we do have quite a large mesh pocket, one on either end. It's sorry about that, I just got stuck getting out. It's a very usable tent for one person. I use a extra long X-Ped mat which fits in there beautifully, without too much sliding about, but if you do find it sliding about, a couple of blobs of silicone on the back of the air mattress will stop it from sliding round. And as I say, plenty of actual space for storing gear in here. There are hanging loops up on the vestibule as well, so you can hang it, and they are a split loop, so you can slot things over it. I don't know if that came across. As you can see, that loop just splits and allows you to hook things on it. So again, useful for lanterns and things like that. Oh, and there's one over there. So that is the MSR Hubba Tour 1. Like I say, this is my go-to tent now. I take this on just about every one of my trips because it's that sweet spot for me between lightweight at 2 kilograms and good usable space. When I was touring Scotland last year, I met a couple of cycle tourists who were very impressed with it in terms of size for weight and gear storage. And I can't say for sure, but the way they were talking about it, I'm pretty sure they'd probably gone and bought one. So one final walk round just in case you need to see anything else. And we'll leave it at that for now. So just to carry on with some detail about the inner, I'm 6'2", and if I lay flat, I've got a good 6 inches at my feet. I'm probably the same again above my head. You do have the ability to sit up in the inner, but it is a little bit tight if there's a sleeping mat under you. But then again, you've got a perfectly good vestibule here to sleep in should you need to sit in should you need to. Does this get the double thumbs up? Yes, it's been a very, very good tent, and it is my go-to tent for motorbike touring in particular, which is what I tend to do most of these days. I've had a look at what they're going for now, and sort of £275 and upwards is the price for this. Some of the reviews do mention actual leaking issues. I've never experienced that, and as I've said, I've been in some very big thunderstorms. But if you read into the detail, it seems to be on seams where there's a label, and I'm pretty sure that would be easily fixed with a little smear of seam sealant over the affected area. The main fabric itself, I've never had an issue with. It's been fully waterproof and it is ripstop. So yeah, I've not had an issue with that at all. Would I buy it again? That's the big question. And honestly, no, I wouldn't. And that's not because it's a bad tent. As I say, I recommend it and it is my go-to tent. But my uses have changed, and for not a lot of extra money and for very little extra weight, you can buy the 2-man version of this, the MSR Hubba Tour 2. And if I was buying again, that is the version I'd buy. You still get the same vestibule area, but you get a 2-man sleeping area with another door on the rear. So in terms of versatility, it is massively increased, and should I ever want to go 2 up, although I've got another tent for 2 up touring, and have the option of going lightweight 2 up, it would be an ideal tent. So yes, that's the one I would recommend. I hope some of the facts and opinions in this video have been useful to some of you guys out there. If so, I would very much appreciate a like and or subscribe. And remember, no matter what, keep on dabbling.